Well, I mean, do you consider, well, the quotation marks enemies part of this board? Because their inverted mass defect is kind of really important here as far as subject matter at times. It's a semi-imperial rate of change issue for the most part. It was too high last time. We're still going to have the four states, the up, up, down, down, up, down, down, up particles, or hydrogen ion states inside of that, getting its way to helium, helium 2. Those are the minutes. When something interferes with that process, you need to general gradual rate cuts, one way or the other. Either I'm going to start to prune out or forward. Now, for me personally, in my general circumstances, it's kind of those lose-lose situations, whether they put your ad in the newspaper but don't tell them the whole story or the case. They're just like, this guy's a terrorist, and, send that out in the newspaper after stealing their guns and stuff and a gag order in their mouth. Hey, I may not have known until afterwards, but I was just holding it, brother, where art thou, until I found out, obviously. I mean, it had to have been scheduled to be in the paper somewhere, but how can you talk about it? Well, it's an ongoing case that has a collusion feature, or at least a compromised or integrity issue as far as what it's all concerned about, and have that hit, right? Have that ping and say you've never had that situation happen before to how to handle it. Well, it's pretty specific, and or do you flip flop to miss out about what kind of rate and gradual change one way or the other in a protative theory for emissions and absorptions that determine how you do that in NP. Seems really complicated. You're just going to take the whole saw mass gap and you're going to run the operation as far as what it does. Sure, there's programs inside of there that become when go to book three phase and then find out answer, open file, get a chess piece image and put it to the board is a rudimentary process you use for everything. And so in that way, it becomes somebody that's out from the base standard. Either, one of the added together forms are wrong, or because the additional tau form, the bottom cut coefficient, putting in the saw co's, or if it just goes straight to Tim or Tony back in the day about what those tractor trailers are producing or finished linear footage would result to, is a general cut to the crew as long as you can maintain that bubble, right? Because it's only a bubble at that point in time as long as the order for the director of information technology has to deal with the arc sign that deals with that projectile momentum equation. In a way, it's still a company. You want to make sure you do that. So what do you do with that burnt battery off of what you were expected for profit before it rolls back into a premium because the actual maintenance or manufacture of it was faster or cleaner than the expected adjusted EBITDA on any kind of mass defect or diversified inconsistencies that you might have in the process, which are, again, the tau calculation all over the road, 42 under every rock. Anybody who does that project becomes in some level CAD. If they do it independently without somebody telling them, hey, I want you to go down there and figure out the saw books, or when's the higher, or whatever you quantify it. What do you do when I say saws? It's like, well, then there's that. So, well, we're replacing saws. What is it? It's like, well, then there's down there on the ground operation. Well, what about the books? Who's calling the numbers? Where's this daisy chain of operation, the supply command that comes into this about what that does? That's a pretty neutral standard about being a little late on it while it still exists at large between the operating terms above the finished linear footage of the treads or pattern coming out of a quarry like that. And it could be anything. Craft, you got the other places up in Delhi, the dairy plant, whatever their versions of it. They're doing their Hydron Collider milking station, or doing the trucking in terms of the Maxwell's Demon here between the transmission of energy, fire, heat, fire, metal, water, steam. You do what you got to do. But obviously we're throwing a bearing somewhere in there. Or if you're not throwing bearings, you have the best model of it against the board. And again, that's that projectile momentum's area under the curve you got to watch out for par habitable rating or habitable life zones and things like that. Things to think about.